My father was a doctor in the Army, one of five. I was the next youngest of five children. We was born in San Antonio, but we moved pretty early on to Tokyo when I was like 3 or 4. Lived in Tokyo for 4 or 5 years. He was stationed there. And then we moved to Washington, D.C. He was a pediatrician there. Washington, D.C., he was actually David and Julie Eisenhower's pediatrician. We lived on Walter Reed for, again, 4 or 5 years. And then moved back to San Antonio. My earliest influences were probably like Ritchie Valens, Buddy Holly, Everly Brothers, records that I would have bought. But my father had played bass. He was a physician, but he had played bass in college with some local, big band of jazz groups. He'd actually done a couple gigs with Lawrence Welk when they came through town as a pickup musician. So he loved music, and he did listen to a lot of, big band jazz and stuff at home, and just for relaxation. So I was exposed through him to Glenn Miller and a lot of that kind of music. So when I was about 10, I asked for some drums. My parents bought me a little drum set for Christmas, so I started playing drums. And just in some little local bands, it was about 6th grade or something. And I played drums and sang in the band. We didn't play jazz, but we played, surf music and stuff. And I sang and I played the drums. And then slowly, when I was around 16, I switched to the guitar to have a harmonic instrument to write with. But, through that period, the English invasion came in. As I said, I'd been influenced by, Everly Brothers, Ritchie Valens, all those type of people, and then Buddy Holly particularly. And then English invasion came in, and of course, the Beatles, Beach Boys, really early on too. Brian as a writer, and Carl particularly as a vocalist. Carl was one of my dearest friends, and passed away 10 years ago. But he was probably my biggest vocal influence, along with Karen Carpenter. They were my two big vocal influences. But Carl was a huge influence on me as a vocalist, and as an artist, as a person, who really taught me to have some grace. Whatever grace I retain, as far as just being a gentleman and handling yourself. Not that I was ever the star or the star that Carl was, but just how to be that famous and just still live your life with grace. He was just a gentle, wonderful guy. So, and then Brian, certainly as a writer, and so then later on Joni Mitchell, and the influences came in and out. Randy Newman, as I said, Tom Waits, Leonard Cohen, a variety of influences. But I would say my biggest influence is probably Joni Mitchell overall, but certainly John and Paul and Brian, writing-wise. 10 or 12, I started messing around with the guitar, and then, coming up a few little songs. And then by the age of about 16, I really started I'd left the drums, started playing the guitar, rhythm guitar in a band, singing, and really started to pursue writing my material. And it was pretty simple and nothing remarkable at the time, but I suppose some influences were there and showing themselves. But I, like anybody else, it got more mature, more progressive as time went on, and I hopefully it tends to.